not a lot happening to either. It's not until Morgan goes onto Dog's ship and blows up from the inside that anything bad actually happens. The two ships have survived a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe the cannibals aren't. It reminded me. There's a episode of The Simpsons where like Bart's Huckleberry Finn or something, and there's a Derringer fight, and everyone's just throwing Derringers at each other, and they're just bouncing off. And it reminded me of that.
Yeah,
It's the ship battles of the 1800s. Like, just, pull up side by side and fire a bunch of cannons at each other and see what happens. It's a testament to both shipbuilding skill and lack of cannon accuracy.
Yeah, if anyone wins, if anyone survives, they win. If no one survives, well, it's a tie. It was Jackie Cairo in Patriot. And also René Auberjonois.
Ebert, though, he did write something about this movie where he's like, I just want treasure. I want two ships pulling alongside of each other and shooting cannons at each other. I want a monkey. Yep. He just gave a list of what pirates movies, and he's like, Cutthroat Island has all of these.
It delivers.
Yeah.
This is the quintessential pirate film before 2003.
But it is also why there are a dozen episodes of Expedition Unknown where Josh Gates goes hunting for pirate treasure, because these pirates always had treasure on their ship, and then, they pull alongside one another, blast holes into each other's ships, and sink.
And also, too, the night, one scene that's a little funky is when they're on the island and Modine steals the map from Dog, and they go to hunting for him. Renny Harlin shot it day for night, but I don't think the transition to night was very good, so they were walking around with torches during the day, and then there were various dark scenes. I don't know if you noticed that, but I don't think you want to shoot at night in a real jungle, because they actually went to Thailand. They went to the beach where the beach was filmed. This was okay. I gotta say, the most beautiful shot in this movie is
Langella squishing that tarantula in his hand. Gross.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Or when he's strutting out of the fire after the explosion.
Oh, that's another good. Right, stop. The third best shot of this movie. But I do love when Modine's character gets walked to the beach, and then he shows up at the beach, and it's just the two guys sitting at the table with all the extras in the background. That's a beautifully, I don't care, I'm going to say it. I love that shot. It's a beautifully framed shot. And the scene where they're rowing out to the boats, and they just do a dolly shot of how big that set was and how many boats there were. There was the ships in the distance were CGI, or visual effects, but I mean that was a massive set that they had. It was beautiful to look at. I love that shot where he sneaks them up on here. So there's some cool compositions in this movie too. The
scope is believable. It is, and honestly, it's what you get when you shoot on location, right? You just mentioned they shot in a real jungle in Thailand. You can tell, I don't care how good it is, when they shoot on a soundstage and make it look like a jungle. You can tell it is not real jungle. And as much as I love Jurassic Park, sorry, Jay, as much as I love it, you can tell scenes in Hawaii versus scenes on the soundstage. You can tell the difference no matter how good they do. So it really does. The scope of this movie, shooting on location, it matters, and you can tell, and they do a good job.
Now, one final thing before we get out of here, but you watch Deadpool or Avengers Endgame. There's a lot of caustic humor and sarcasm and that people seem to love that. This movie has none of it. So I wonder. I wonder if that hurts it.
Sarcasm wasn't invented until 19.
You've got Modine going along. I don't understand how you need somebody to speak Latin in your life, whatever the phrase is. He's commentating on things as he's going along, but that's about it. You haven't got every character doing it in Marvel. You just got him, and he's been thrown into this situation. He's unused to all of this, so it kind of makes sense that he would be trying to cope with whatever mechanism he has.
Do you think that makes movies M. Night Shyamalan movies, some of even the ones I wouldn't say that aren't that strong, that one that The Village people hate on The Happening, people hate on Lady in the Water, but he's also so earnest with his filmmaking. He's very yes, there are some twists, but there's just a certain openness to his movies that people really went after as well. So I wonder if that is something that people just don't like, or that it's easier to make fun of when a movie is just very, I take a drink every time I say earnest, but it's not P. Worrell, but I wonder if that hurts some movies where they're just so, Like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're so tongue-in-cheek. They're so snarky and self-aware. Yeah, I think it has to do with the tone. And if you've decided ahead of time, well, here's the tone. Yeah, that thing about how if everyone is making quips, then no one is the straight man. And in order to have a guy that's quippy, you've got to have a guy that's the straight man. So maybe some movies overdo that.
Because, like, Rhodes in Iron Man is a definitive straight man.
Yes.
But even he has quips.
Yep.
He has many, many quips in, like, Iron Man 2.
Everyone in the... And I think it might have been Screen Junkie's Honest Trailers that pointed out where, like, Black Panther's the only one who will not quip. Everyone else is quipping.
And then when that came out, I was amongst people who were like, oh, he's kind of a boring character.
Because he won't.
Who's this guy? Dour.
Yeah, so this movie doesn't really have the comedian, the one character who's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to make jokes about this entire situation. No, really, you get occasionally Shaw makes observations with question marks, but no one's quipping.
There's no Rob Schneider. And Judge Dredd dropping quips. Like that kind of character.
I feel like
weird Paul.
Or Rob Schneider in Demolition Man.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know about the seashells.
I do feel like they could have very easily given that role to someone like Christopher Masterson, or just one of the crew. Just have somebody like, oh, he's always quipping, and then they just gets killed at the end, and everyone's like, oh, phew, that's fine.
Oh, the quippy guy's dead.
Yeah, maybe this movie needed that. Maybe it needed a quipster.
And also, too, none of her crew really, the main crew, get killed. I know that Rex Lynn, Mr. Blair, that's pretty gnarly how he gets his arm smashed in that thing, and then he gets saved. Like, it's kind of cool how...
By Trotter.
Yeah, you know, I love Trotter. He's when he smacks him in the back of the head. But I like that none of them have to die. Like, we're going to sacrifice someone to make people feel things. Like, no, just keep them alive because we like them.
Well, speaking of deaths, Ainsley, the Patrick Malahide character, the kind of the British general, whatever he is, the head army guy, and then the traitor, Maury Chaykin. They both kind of disappear in an explosion in the climax, and then they're kind of forgotten about. And I wanted just a bit more. I wanted them to be like definitively defeated, and so that was a little unsatisfying.
Yeah, they just get engulfed in flames, and then we never see them again.
When Maury Chaykin was like, I'm on this boat to research pirates for my great novel, I was like, oh, he's going to end up being Robert Louis Stevenson. This is going to be a treasure, because I have no idea when that was written. I've looked it up since, and I was like 200 years later. But still, that was my first thought. This is going to end with him closing a book titled Treasure Island.
Oh, boy, that would have been very clever.
But terribly anachronistic.
I will say that the idea of coming back to the Ainsley and Patrick Malahide, who was ironically, I believe, just in The Protégé. The trope in a pirate movie of you got two groups of pirates going after the treasure and fighting against each other, and then yes, also the British Navy. Like the British soldiers are always hanging around as a third interested party, a secondary villain, a plot point. So yeah, I feel like that's also there too, and would have been interesting to see a little more, but not necessary, not really the focus.
Don't need it.
Yeah.
Just give me more Geena Davis. Like, I like in the beginning, too, the guy goes to shoot her, and she's like, I took the bullets out of that. So she just used the guy.
I took your balls.
Yeah. I just like that she saw it coming.
It's a line that apparently was cut for the UK cinema release for this one.
Oh, and the dance number that you didn't get.
And the dance number, of course, yes. There were further cuts for the cinema release.
Censoring your balls.
Yeah.
Wait, that's wait. BS? PTS? BTS? PTS?
PTS.
PBS. And listen, how great are the face punches in this movie? I love the sound effects.
You mentioned that. The sound effects are crazy. All they're missing is the, like, Batman 66 pow.
Yes, exactly. And you know what I like about Renny Harlin? He was talking about the movie. He's like, I made sure to just add as much humor in this as possible. So, like, people watching it, I don't know. I just wonder how
humor without quips. Yeah. Just,
How?
Oh, wow.
How is such a thing?
Like, the the line about the iguana, and then her line about like I thought I'd be passed out. Like it's just funny, cheeky dialogue. So I mean, I don't know how people watch this and not like. I feel like I was able to get on the wavelength of this movie quite quick, but other people weren't. It's kind of a bummer.
Well, what's ironic is that every time I mention this to someone, I find more people who like it than people who don't.
Oh, hey.
Again, maybe I'm just hanging out with the right people, but
Pirates.
Pirates, archers. I think that it's one of those where, like you said, the narrative was set, and so it got critically panned, but maybe it didn't get the cult following that I think Long Kiss Goodnight has, right? I think Long Kiss Goodnight is kind of widely accepted as a big cult hit. I don't know that this got that, and maybe it should.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pirates of the Caribbean came in and so maybe overshadowed it. Was this maybe ahead of its time? Was it? I don't know.
It's just too good, and it got buried.
Yeah.
And it went over budget, and that was in the press a lot, and everyone wrote about that. And I just think people, I'm telling you, go read some of the comments about this, like the negative comments. You'll just, Renny Harlin wanted to direct his, Renny Harlin. Yeah, it'll make you very angry. And there's articles by major publications where they're like, Harlan refused to give his wife a smaller role, or his, fiance wife a smaller role. Like he insisted that she had a bigger role. Maybe he should have brought in an A-lister and given Douglas more to do. And I'm like, why?
A-lister at this point? When did she win her Oscar?
Yeah, 80s?
Yeah, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
Tourist. Yeah.
And then, I mean, A League of Their Own had already come out.
Yeah, so she's clearly an A-lister.
And it's just so odd. You have this, like, Mensa A-list Oscar-winning Archer in this movie, and they're like, well, he just did it because Thelma and Louise, too. That was a gigantic film.
She was nominated for Thelma and Louise, so she's like the two-time Oscar nominee, one-time winner at that point.
Yeah, so you have an A-lister, and I'm just it just gets so annoying to read all this. So again,
it's just good old-fashioned sexism.
Yeah. And I really do pick up on patterns. Like I really, as a researcher, I love looking at patterns, and I get quite annoyed because like I just think the narrative was set about this, and there's a lot of critics who, someone's like, yeah, she's not athletic enough for it.
She's a world-class archer.
Yeah, I know. I told Megan that, my wife, and she's like, what? But yeah, I just think it got a bad release date. It was up against some major competition. John Carter, and I mean, there are movies like John Carter, The Lone Ranger, I think, that are buried before they come out.
Well, I will join
justifiably.
Ranger. I thought that was unwatchable.
Yeah, I mean, but they had to build real trains for that, and but then there was a lot of floods, and they just endured so much. So I think sometimes this narrative's out, and
the horse in a tree. There were carnivorous rabbits.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, other action films in '95. I would say she is just as athletic as Pierce Brosnan for GoldenEye, Steven Seagal for Under Siege 2.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Stallone.
You're gonna, Stallone might win that contest.
Yeah. Costner in Waterworld.
Oh, sure.
He's way more athletic than Costner.
Wow, Waterworld was also 95?
Yes.
And am I right in thinking that movie also huge,
very much
huge,
yes.
A bomb would be, yeah.
But also, that set the narrative, too, because that came out before Cutthroat Island. So you already had one gigantic, big budget. I mean, Waterworld made money, but I think the narrative was there.
Still one of the best things at Universal Studios Hollywood. It's still going because people love that stunt show. It is wonderful.
Jet Ski City. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that also hurt? Like looking through this, that narrative, of that?
I am in favor of shifting the discussion around this movie to blaming Waterworld for its failure.
There it is. Blame
Done.
Waterworld.
Okay.
Oh, and then Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd, yeah, man.
Sudden Death. Jean-Claude Van Damme fights a penguin.
Isn't that the hockey one?
Yeah, he fights a penguin.
Oh, God.
Congo.
Mascot. Desperado.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Congo was one where I read the book and then saw the movie, was like, but did these people read the book?
Geena Davis, far more athletic than Laura Linney and Dylan Walsh. And Grant Hesloff. And Joe Don Baker.
Oh,
Tim Curry. If you want a non-athletic cast.
Curry in that movie with the accent that is questionable at best, but he commits to it.
Put down the sesame gate.